Imagine going into Chicago and you giving out $80,000 a year jobs with benefits. Any gang member, $80,000 a year job, you got to sign a contract that you ain't gang banging no more, boom, 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 boom. I promise you, half of them are done.
What if I told you that crime isn't the result of bad people, but bad economics? What if the murders, the shootings, the drug deals, the gangs could all be stopped overnight with just one thing, a real job? Not minimum wage, not scraps, a real life-changing salary, $80,000 a year. Dr. Umar Johnson says, give these young black men $80,000 jobs, and half the violence in Chicago disappears tomorrow. And he's not speaking as a politician trying to sell a dream. He's speaking as a man who has spent his entire life inside America's most oppressed neighborhoods, watching a system perfectly designed to produce violence, then pretend to be shocked by the results. Ask yourself, does any young man actually want to wake up knowing today might be his last? Does any teenager want to join a gang, bury his friends, or become a headline? No, they want survival. They want dignity. They want a chance. But the system denies them opportunity, then calls them criminals for trying to survive without it. Here's the secret the media will never show you. Crime follows poverty the way fire follows gasoline. You remove poverty, crime dries up. You bring opportunity, violence evaporates. It's not complicated. It's not mysterious. It's not cultural. It's economic. But there's a reason you don't hear solutions like this on CNN or Fox News. Because if violence stops, prisons empty, police budgets shrink, politicians lose excuses, and the billions made from black suffering disappear. So they push a different message. Policing will save you. Lock them up. Send more patrols. All while ignoring the only solution that has ever worked in the history of this country. This is the story they don't want told. And tonight we're telling it.
The worst thing black people can do, is tell the government to come into our community and deal with our children for us. The children are how they are because we allowed them to become that way. And to tell Donald Trump to come into the black community and handle my children because I'm too afraid to is a recipe for disaster. Because guess what? They shoot everybody when they come. Do you feel me?
When has that ever worked?
When has that ever worked? They shooting everybody. Elders, babies, they don't care. It's a recipe for disaster. That is a problem we should be solving ourselves. Black men must take back the black community, not the police.
Chicago, the city the media loves to call America's war zone. Every headline screams the same message. Black youth are dangerous. News reporters fly in from comfortable suburbs, point cameras at the blood on the sidewalk, interview a tearful mother, and then fly back home to safety, satisfied that they've covered the story. But did they? Or did they just film the consequences while ignoring the cause? When the media talks about Chicago, they never mention the billions stolen from its schools. They never mention the factories that left, taking jobs, hope, and fathers with them. They never show the corporations making profit every time another young man is locked in a cage. They point the camera at the violence, never at the system. To them, gangs are the disease. But to Dr. Umar Johnson, gangs are the symptom of something much deeper. Deliberate economic abandonment. He says it clearly. From Dr. Umar's perspective, calling the government, calling police, doesn't fix anything. It destroys everything. Police don't provide jobs. They don't educate youth. They don't put food on the table. They arrive after the damage is done. A community doesn't collapse because a gang formed. A gang forms because a community collapsed. Let's be brutally honest. A teenager doesn't pick up a gun because he thinks it's fun. He picks it up because he sees no other way to protect his life or provide for his family. When every legal opportunity has been taken from him, the illegal becomes survival.
That is a problem we should be solving ourselves. Black men must take back the black community, not the police.
Dr. Umar flips the entire narrative. Instead of seeing gangs as criminals to be crushed, see them as leaders without opportunity. These young men are already organized, loyal, brave, and entrepreneurial. What they lack isn't discipline or intelligence. What they lack is access. But the moment black men stand up to secure their own community, the moment they try to protect their streets, educate their youth, and build their own economy, suddenly the government becomes very interested. Police patrols increase. Surveillance expands. The system wants control, not empowerment, because empowerment is dangerous. Empowerment means independence, and independence threatens profit. Chicago's crime crisis didn't happen by accident. It's a narrative, carefully crafted to blame the oppressed and protect the powerful. The system needs violence to justify its existence. The media needs fear to get views. Politicians need chaos to maintain control. And the police, they need crime to keep budgets high. So when they say Chicago has a gang problem, Dr. Umar answers, no, Chicago has a job problem. The world keeps asking the same lazy question, why do they keep killing each other? But the real question is, who took away every alternative? Young men don't wake up choosing crime. Crime chooses them when society refuses to choose them, when schools are underfunded, when fathers are locked away, when skills are never taught, when jobs pay less than prison hustles. What do you expect a young man to do? Dr. Umar Johnson breaks it down with surgical precision.
By black people. Remember, what's the mother of all crime? Miseducation. What's the father of all crime? Economic castration. What are two of the biggest problems in Chicago? Poor schools and no jobs. Poverty is the mother of crime. Poverty is the mother of crime. You're not going to do nothing about poverty, but you're going to reduce crime. The only way you can do that is kill people and lock them up. You feel me? That's all you can do is remove. You're not getting rid of the problem. Yeah. You're just removing the bodies.
Look at the pattern. Close schools in black neighborhoods, youth on the streets. Remove trades and skilled labor programs, workforce excluded. Shut down factories, no jobs left. Over-police, the result, prison pipeline activated. This isn't bad luck. This is policy. The system starves a community of opportunity, then pretends to be horrified when that community fights to survive. Over 70% of inmates never finished high school. The most violent crimes occur in the poorest zip codes. Estates predict future prison beds based on third-grade reading scores. Yes, they plan cages before kids can even read. Because this economy doesn't fear crime, profits from it. The tough truth Dr. Umar speaks is this: no teenager would pick up a gun if he was picking up a paycheck.
Anytime you hear a politician talk about crime and don't talk about schools and jobs, you're dealing with a hypocrite. Period.
But instead of salaries, they get surveillance. Instead of mentorship, they get metal bars. Instead of investing in them, the government invests in police overtime. Because if black youth become successful professionals, who fills the prisons? Who justifies billions in policing budgets? Who works the low-wage jobs? The media loves to frame violence as a moral failure. But Dr. Umar frames it as economic warfare. You want to end crime? End the hunger. End the desperation. End the hopelessness. Give these young men a future worth living for, not one they expect to die in. Chicago doesn't need more police. It needs more engineers, contractors, technicians, welders, builders, and a system that lets black men become all of these. Because when a man can feed his family, he doesn't have to fear for their future. And when a man has purpose, he doesn't have time for war.
They're going straight to white folks. They don't even hit the ghetto. And you know what? They don't want to employ black people anyway. You want to know why? Because Chicago, if I give you a good paying job, you ain't moving. How I'm going to get you out of Chicago for these white folks to buy up all the land, and now you got a job. You can actually afford a mortgage now? That don't work with what I'm trying to do. They not giving black to. Why would you for the Jews, Italians, and Irish? Remember, the original gangsters was the Jews, Italians, and Irish. They was the gangbangers and the shoot 'em up boys.
Yeah.
Right. And then they gave the Irish the fire department in the black community. Excuse me, they gave the Italians the fire department in the black community. They gave the Irish the police department, and they gave the Jews the government jobs. Eliminated crime almost overnight for them people.
There's a number that keeps popping up in policy meetings, research papers, and activist speeches. $80,000. According to multiple studies, that's the rough annual cost for the government to incarcerate one young black man in a major U.S. city. Not educate him, not employ him, not uplift him, incarcerate him. Now imagine this. What if that same $80,000 was invested before someone ever touches a jail cell? Not in police budgets, not in surveillance tech, but in opportunity. Here's the irony of American public spending. A young black entrepreneur with a dream can't get a $10,000 loan. But if that same young man ends up in prison, government finds $80,000 immediately. It's almost like the system is saying, we won't pay for your life, but we'll gladly pay for your cage. Let's break the illusion that crime is just ignorance or bad choices. Crime in places like Chicago is often an economic equation. No jobs plus no training plus no ownership. The street becomes the employer. Black youth aren't dangerous. They're underfunded. But here's where things shift. If a city can justify spending $80,000 to lock someone up, it can justify spending that money to build a life instead of bury it. What could $80,000 do for one person? Pay for tuition at a 4-year university, fund a small business launch, cover vocational training plus equipment, provide mental health support, guarantee housing plus stability for a year. That's not charity, that's prevention. That's return on investment. And the communities know exactly where that funding should go. Local business incubators, trade apprenticeships, youth violence interruption jobs, ownership pipelines, not minimum wage traps. This is the part politicians don't like to talk about. Funding black futures threatens the industries built on black suffering. Prisons, policing overtime, surveillance contracts, nonprofit poverty management. There's a whole economy that depends on the block staying broken. So when we ask, why not invest $80,000 to help him succeed? The power structure replies, because we already make money when he fails. That's the sick logic. But imagine flipping that narrative. Imagine the same young brother who was expected to be a statistic becoming an employer, a taxpayer, a mentor, a homeowner, someone who takes back the block not with violence but with ownership. The $80,000 solution isn't radical. It's common sense. Unless your goal is to keep a community trapped. Chicago doesn't have a crime problem. Chicago has a misallocation of resources problem. The money exists. The opportunity exists. The question is, will America spend $80,000 to cage a black man? Or $80,000 to crown one?
Like every other major city is marked for what? Gentrification.
Right.
If I give you a good paying job, you ain't moving. How I'm going to get you out of Chicago for these white folks to buy up all the land? You can actually afford a mortgage now? That don't work with what I'm trying to do. They not giving black.
There's a pattern that repeats itself in U.S. cities, especially places like Chicago's South and West Side. First, let the neighborhood fall apart. Jobs disappear, schools collapse, homes abandoned. Then when crime rises as a natural result of neglect, the government declares, this community is too dangerous to save. But the moment the area becomes cheap enough, developers, corporations, banks, they swoop in like vultures spotting fresh meat. That's the gentrification strategy. No grocery stores, poor transportation, zero financial infrastructure, public schools left to rot. The community is trapped in survival mode. The system benefits when we fail. They keep us disorganized so they can take our neighborhoods from us. This is not an accident. It's a timeline. Remove opportunity, increase desperation, label community, high crime by the block cheap. When they say crime is the problem, what they mean is, crime is the excuse to take your land. And once the takeover begins, suddenly, new coffee shops appear. Police presence increases, but now to protect the property, rent skyrockets. Original residents pushed out. They don't remove the crime until they've removed the people.
Racism cost you your country. You better put black men in this war, and you better put him in quick, because if you don't, y'all gonna lose. We saved the country for him, and as a result of that, he couldn't kick us out. We should have said to ourselves, if we can beat the Confederacy for the Union, why can't we beat the Union for ourselves?
Real security in Chicago isn't when a police car turns the corner. It isn't when the government passes a new bill. Dr. Umar says it clearly. Real security begins when a man has a job, dignity, and a future worth protecting. When a man has a career, when he owns a home, when the community depends on him, he doesn't pick up a gun. He picks up responsibility. He defends his block harder than any police squad ever could.
Racism cost you your country. You better put black men in this war, and you better put them in quick, because if you don't, y'all gonna lose. We saved the country for him, and as a result of that, he couldn't kick us out.
The system has forced the youth to survive instead of succeed. But where opportunity appears, criminal mentality dies. When jobs exist, drug dealers lose recruits, gangs lose soldiers, and violence loses purpose. A job isn't just income. A job is protection. A paycheck can stop a bullet long before it's ever fired. Police usually arrive after the destruction. Real community safety is preventing the destruction in the first place. No police officer knows the streets like the people who live there. No official will care about a child the way the community cares. That's why Dr. Umar says, nobody can protect us better than we can protect ourselves.
We should have said to ourselves, if we can beat the Confederacy for the Union, why can't we beat the Union for ourselves?
When neighbors unite, street problems get solved before they explode. Arguments don't turn into funerals. Strangers don't enter the block unnoticed. Kids don't disappear into the pipeline of crime. That is real security built from inside the block. But the strongest protection is ownership. If you don't own your house, if the land isn't yours, if the store isn't yours, then someone else controls your future. When you own nothing, your presence can be erased anytime. Ownership locks the door on gentrification. It protects families from being pushed out of their history and their home. Owning the block means nobody can come and take it. And here's the deepest truth. Where fathers exist, the system fears stepping in. Where fathers are missing, the system takes over. The school-to-prison pipeline succeeds when boys grow up without male guidance. But when fathers return home, when sons see leadership and love, the streets lose their grip. Fatherhood creates security that no police force can match. But for this protection to be permanent, political independence matters. Leaders must come from the block. People who live the struggle, who walk the same streets, who understand the crisis deeply. When voting power, economic power, and community protection all belong to the same people, the system cannot control the block anymore. Imagine the future. Abandoned homes turn into construction jobs. Street boys clock in at real workplaces. Mothers sleep without fear. Fathers come home instead of going to prison. And one day, the young men of Chicago will stand tall and say, this land is ours. These children are ours. This future is ours. On that day, crime won't just decrease. Crime will become unnecessary.
He was trying to get us off to Panama, to Haiti. He didn't want no blacks in him. When the Civil War was over, we was all supposed to get on ships and be taken away. That was Abraham Lincoln's plan.
They told the world Chicago is broken. They painted the South Side as hopeless. They used fear to make the country believe that crime was the identity, not the enemy. But the truth is this: nothing is wrong with our people. Something is wrong with the system that benefits from our struggle. For decades, the story has been weaponized against the very neighborhoods it comes from. Politicians score points on our pain. Media runs headlines about gang wars but hides discussions about jobs, the one tool that could end those wars instantly. The police flood the streets only after destruction. Prisons fill with fathers who were never given a chance to become providers. And yet, every time the system expects us to collapse, we rise again. The block doesn't need outsiders to save it. The block needs opportunity, and it will save itself.
He was trying to get us off to Panama, to Haiti. He didn't want no blacks in him. When the Civil War was over, we was all supposed to get on ships and be taken away. That was Abraham Lincoln's plan.
If they ever gave us the resources we deserve, we would rebuild this entire community overnight. This is not about crime, this is about power. Criminal behavior disappears when there is something bigger to live for. Guns lose their appeal when the future feels real. And when the community leads itself, fear becomes a stranger. Imagine a Chicago where every young man wakes up with a job he earned. Every father comes home to lead his family. Every home on the block belongs to the people who live in it. Every child grows up believing they were born to build, not destroy. That is the Chicago the system fears. Because if this transformation happens here, it will happen everywhere. They rely on us believing the lie. Our communities are dangerous. But the most dangerous thing to those in power is a community that knows its own power. The block is not a battlefield, it's a kingdom. The people are not victims, they are leaders waiting to rise. Crime is not a destiny. It's a business model designed to keep us trapped. And once we break the business, once we take back the block with jobs, unity, fatherhood, and ownership, the entire system will shake. So we end with this message for every brother on every corner. You are not the problem. You are the solution. You are the protection. You are the power. The future isn't coming. The future is already here, and it's waiting on.